Hello, my name is James Bishke, high school principal at Benton Community. This video is intended to go over the iPad policy, procedures, and information. Basically, this is the acceptable use policy, or the AUP, if it's ever referred to in that terminology. Um, First of all, I'll start off by saying that Benton Community High School has followed the lead of our middle school to start the initiative of a one-to-one iPad program at the high school level. We saw tremendous success from the middle school, and we want to continue that success into our high school programming. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to say that the iPad is a learning tool, just like any other tool we use in education. It will not be the end all be all for us and change our educational program totally. Teachers will be using this in the classroom um, at differing rates, especially as we start out here. It is our hope that we can build a very collaborative environment for our students where they're able to work with each other and our staff members, where they're engaged in the technology and engaged more in their classwork. I am looking at the iPad policy procedures and information sheet here. This was mailed out in our registration packet. The first thing I'm going to do is I recognized one error, and I want to take you to item 3.4 at this time. As you can see right here, it says passwords are not to be used. In my original copy, I have deleted that because we do encourage students at the high school level to use a password to protect their iPad so that no other students can get on that and change anything. Um, Along with that, we're telling students that they need to have on their home screen, the startup screensaver, their name. So if the iPad was ever misplaced, lost, left somewhere, as soon as it's turned on, we'll see the name of the student that owns that iPad. It's still all right to have that passcode on your iPad because if we ever need to take a look at that for any reason, we'll just ask for that code. I'm going to scroll back up to the top of this agreement and go over a few of the items here. First and foremost, the district does own the iPad. It is ours. We are checking it out to the student, and they will have to check that back in at the end of the school year. Students will be checked out the iPad and the charging cords, along with a case. These cases have been, tested by us. We did a lot of research to decide what was the right case. These cases will help protect that iPad, and the iPad needs to stay in that case at all times. Again, we will check iPads out to students on the first day of school this year. They'll get everything they need, and then at the end of the year, they'll have to check that back into us. We may have times throughout the year before Christmas, things like that, where we want to have all the iPads checked back into us so that we can run updates and do things like that. If the iPad's ever lost or stolen, we do have insurance through Apple iCare. Uh, Families and students are responsible for $50 deductible on the replacements. But we do ask if it's ever stolen to, notify administration right away, and also fill out a police report to say that that iPad was stolen. Taking care of your iPad, section 2. Again, it is school property. It'd be just like anything else that's checked out to a student. They need to take care of it and be responsible for that. When they're in use with the iPad, it's a great machine that they should learn how to use very easily, we believe, just because of students' knowledge and ability level with technology these days. The big thing students are going to have to remember is to keep the battery charged. Now, we did choose the iPad because of its long battery life, but we still recommend that they are charged every night at home. As I said before, anytime the iPad is transported anywhere or used, it should always be in that case. Screen care, bottom line is don't put any chemicals or cleaners on the iPad. You can use a wet cloth to try to clean that, and that should be it. Again, no iPad should be serviced by the student or families. Don't be trying to take it apart or take it out of its case even. If you experience any problems with your iPad, you can go to our help desk, which is going to be in the media center. So just take it to one of our media specialists, and they will get in touch with our technology department to make sure that iPad is either fixed or gone through to determine what the problem is. In the middle school last year, we had very few problems with iPads that were broken. There were a few that had to be looked at, and one of the main reasons was that students were trying to sync the iPad physically with a computer at home. In our documentation, I do refer to that a couple different places. It's all right for students to have iTunes accounts, but do not physically attach the iPad to any computer. That will mess up the software due to the way that we have those iPads imaged and when we sync them and load the programs. Remember to bring the iPad to school every day. I'm looking at section 3.1 right here. You're going to need them and be using them. Again, if it needs to be repaired or there's something wrong with it, take it to the library, to one of our media specialists. We can always issue a different iPad to the student. If theirs is needing repair, we'll make sure that they have something to work on that day at school until we can get theirs repaired. Section 3.3, I talked about the battery. Just make sure it's charged each and every day. I've found through talking to students that the best thing that you can do is get into a habit, some sort of structure at home where I know every night I plug it in this specific spot before I go to bed, something to that effect. Again, section 3.4, the screensavers, background photos. You'll have to go into the settings to access your screensaver and background. Make sure that your name is on the screensaver and background for the startup. When you turn the iPad on, the first thing you should see is your name. The iPad, it does come standard with a camera, microphone, sound, things like that. Make sure anything and everything you do on the iPad is school appropriate. Section 3.6, printing. We do have ways to print. It is going to be discouraged though because we want to go green. Most of your assignments, most of the work you do can all be turned in electronically. 3.7 talks about the home internet access. You should be able to connect to any wireless network that you are in contact with. You may have to set that up the very first time through your settings and the Wi-Fi settings, but after that, the iPad should recognize that internet wireless system and automatically connect. Managing your files and saving your work. There's going to be multiple ways to do that. You can save obviously to the iPad and the different apps and programs that you're in. We're probably going to find that a lot of students are using Dropbox or Google Docs. Google Docs will probably be the most predominantly used storage area to access files for our students. Again, I'm not going to go through every single item on our acceptable use policy. I'm going to let you take a look at that, but I'll highlight a few in this video again. Sharing documents will occur through Google Apps. Predominantly, you might use Dropbox and some other things there. 4.4, downloading and personalizing the iPod. You're able to do that. Again, you can download apps at the high school level. That's going to be through iTunes, and you'll set up your own account there. Everything needs to be school appropriate, though. There's some language here that talks about what school appropriate is. It's just like what's in our handbook. You can download apps, though. I know that was a big question for our students last year when I talked to high schoolers about what they could do to that, or how they could use that iPad. Please don't put any stickers or any other markings on the iPad or the case. Those need to be turned in. One other big point I will mention is that this iPad will be the students for 4 years, so hopefully that's incentive to take care of that iPad and keep it nice, because you're going to get the same one back the following year. We do have identification tags and asset tags on the actual iPad inside the case. Again, do not ever take it out of the case or try to service or work on that iPad on your own. Section 5 software on the iPads, the district will load specific apps that teachers have requested or that we know we'll use in classes. That's one of the main reasons why you're not able to use an iPad that you bought personally last year at some other time, because it won't have the apps we need on it. But you are able to download from iTunes apps that you think are interesting or useful for classes. Um, You'll have to manage the iPad when it gets full. You need to delete some things so that you can make room for schoolwork if that ever occurs. Section 5.2, again, we talked about synchronization. The iPads are synchronized with a Benton account. Um, we have our own iTunes account as well to load apps. Students are able to have their own iTunes account, but don't ever try to physically plug a cord into the iPad and then connect that to your computer, because it will create some problems for you. Section 5.3, and I referred to this earlier, inspection. At any time, we can look at that iPad because it is the property of Benton Community School District if we have any concerns. Again, the acceptable use. Parents, guardians, we hope that you do take a look at the iPad. You do ask your student what they're working on, how things are going, and you're also checking out the content of items on that iPad to make sure that they're school appropriate and we don't have any problems there. The big thing we see is the social networking sites and inappropriate use there. So I always encourage parents and guardians to know logins and passwords for their students, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to know what their student is posting, because that is there for life. And we've had a lot of learning situations, I'll call them, in the past where students just don't understand the impact of some of these social networking sites. As I scroll down here, um, 6.4 talks a lot about the things that are strictly prohibited. Some of those things I've already talked about right now. Obviously, with the social networking sites, make sure it's appropriate, that you're not harassing anyone or causing problems that way. Anything on that iPad needs to as well be school appropriate. Now, as far as filtering, we do have a filtering system at Benton Community, so when they are connected to our network, the content is filtered. When they're at home on a network or maybe out in a public place, oftentimes that will not be filtered. Again, students need to make good choices about what's appropriate and what is not. If for whatever reason students have something inappropriate on their iPad, there are disciplinary situations that may need to occur. Those are subject to the teacher and administrative review. We talked about the identification of the iPad. Again, just make sure that you're able to load your name on the screensaver and background, so that when you start the iPad, your name appears. So if we need to get it back to you, if it's left in the lunchroom or in a classroom, we know whose it is. Bottom line, take care of that iPad. Make sure you know where it's at. You'll need to bring it to all your classes unless instructed not to by a teacher. Store it in your locker. If you're going to PE or lunch, this year we are providing locks on all high school lockers so that we can add a little bit of security for reassurance with those iPads stored in the lockers. Seven 7.5, kind of a no-brainer here, but keep that away from liquids or food. You don't want anything spilling on that, or anything that may harm the iPad in any way. Again, cost of repairs, and this is a big question for parents and students, is what is this going to cost me? What happens if it breaks, if it's lost? We do have insurance on the iPads, Apple Care Plus. It's a $50 deductible to replace an iPad if it's accidentally broken. Now, if a student breaks an iPad on purpose, then they are responsible for full payment of the iPad. I don't believe that will be an issue. We had only a couple in the middle school last year that were accidentally damaged, and they were accidents. And we administered the $50 deductible to the family, and they got the new iPad. The loan agreement just talks about what the student and parent will be responsible for and how they'll try to help us to keep that iPad in good working order. You should have received, as I said, all of this information in your registration materials. We ask that you go over it with your parent or your student, vice versa. And if you have any questions at any time, feel free to call us here at the high school. We'll be more than happy to walk through some of those questions and hopefully get you the information you need. If you feel comfortable with everything you've read, we ask that you sign and date the loan agreement and bring that back at registration on the 5th of August. This is our acceptable use policy for technology and the internet. This is applied to all students at all times. Again, sign that and return to registration. One question here before we end this video that I've received from parents is, how much is this going to cost me, or how have fees increased to help pay for this? All students and parents have paid a technology and book rental fee every year. What we did the last couple of years at the middle school level to help offset the cost was increase the technology fee by $10. So we increased that just a little bit to offset those costs. We feel that's not outrageous to provide access and use for this technology. So really, it's been a $10 increase in your registration fees to help offset the cost of the iPad program at the middle school and the high school. This video is going to conclude here. Again, if you have any questions regarding our high school iPad initiative, please feel free to give me a call or someone a call here at the high school. Again, my name is James Bishke, high school principal at Benton Community, and we are excited and look forward to this iPad initiative at the high school level. Again, thank you for your time.